tale for you here, ripe with courage and foes, with a moral, perhaps, when it comes to a close. Now a story is not what I offer today, but sit for a spell and hear what I say, for when it is over and finally through, you'll perhaps see that this tale is quite true. Far down past the mountains where icy winds blow, on the slopes of the crest of wisps covered with snow, a fortress of stone sat quiet and still. 'Twas a bastion of warmth against the dreadful ice chill. Its name in the dwarf tongue was Lus Lemodam, and gone from this place was its usual calm. For you see, this small fortress on the rough mountain slope was now a place of great peril, not hope. Something was stirring. The omens were ill. Out past the tundra, the circular hill, the rise of a glacier titan had begun. Tisa Tipia Mia, in our tongue, Skin Sun. But hope was not gone, not quite yet now at least. A hero had risen to stop this great beast. A furrowed brow covered battle-worn dwarven eyes, his great swollen biceps twice thick as his thighs. Well-muscled, broad, charcoal hair and beard, the monstrous creature was nothing he feared. Stukos Kruggsmash was his dwarven name, but Stukos Bootraiser in our tongue meant the same. Such a dwarf surely stood a bit more than a chance, with his beetling brow, muscles, and lance. But no fool was our hero with charcoal black hair. First he'd need information to find Skin Sun's lair. He entered the storerooms where busy dwarves gathered, and he asked around some, but they couldn't be bothered. He talked to a mason and Reg the fort's glazer, but not a dwarf present helped Stukos Bootraiser. No dwarf in the fortress had information to show, till he met an adventuring dwarf with a bow. The Marks dwarf had traveled out far from the fort. He knew of a place, a lair of sort. He hadn't explored too much into the site, as to whether or not the beast lived there. It might. A single small clue was all that he needed, and so this advice, Stukos Kruggsmash heeded. The ranger came with him. He loved a good quest, and as for the proper path, this dwarf knew best. Stukos grabbed up his spear and the ranger his quiver, and so they set out, a beast's head to deliver. Up through the tunnels and out of the cavern, they decided to first stop in the fort's tavern. 'Twas quiet today, in the Mint of Teeth. Most of the peasants were down underneath. The only dwarves present were the fat tavern keep, and a dwarf with an axe, passed out, quite asleep. They downed their mugs quickly, and soon would depart, but not ere the axe dwarf awoke with a start. Slurring her words and inebriated, "I'd like to join up," she sloppily stated. The two grinned and nodded and quickly agreed, had one more quick mug, and then left with great speed. Out of the fortress they traveled with haste. Not 1 second more of their time would they waste. Out in the tundra to the south and the east lurked their quarry Skin Sun, a great wintry beast. The plain was a slick sort, winds icy a whip, but well-bundled armor blocked frostbite's black nip. 3 small silhouettes, showing gray against white, they traveled throughout the day, till fell the night. Dark in the ice waste is best spent indoors, but they kindled a fire, and kindled it more. Soon the small fire had grown to great size. It warmed them immensely, threw sparks to the skies. The night surely passed, but it felt it took years, to those 3 frozen warriors, armed with bow, axe, and spear. 'Twas some time past midnight, when through the wind's howl, heard they a deep rumble, a soul-shaking growl. Snow clung to the shaggy hide as it emerged.
"Ha! I've got this, lads,"
Stukos Bootraiser urged. White was its hide, fire red in the eyes, but Stukos just grinned at the monster's great size. He hefted his spear, it soon found its home, tearing the muscle and bruising the bone. The Yeti fell forward, collapsed on the ground, its menacing tone now a piteous sound. Stukos grinned on as the beast crawled away, but then he moved in and finished its day. When it was over, the 3 dwarves nary spoke. They however did smile at their leader's new cloak. Now with the frost shaken out of their bones, it was time to move onward, to the Titan's hill home. By the ranger's opinion, they were closing in now. At this Stukos grimaced and furrowed his brow. An ultimate test of his warrior will was lurking close by at the circular hill. They strode forward, undaunted, their path heading southward. An hour had passed, then a second, and third. Out in the distance now, through the ice squall, an odd thing was sighted, beyond the constant snowfall. A hill that it was. This was simply a fact, but atop that small hill, icy columns were stacked. An odd sight indeed, on the featureless plain. This be it, spoke the ranger. He needn't explain. But any mirth felt, they'd be soon to forget, as their focusing eyes met the huge silhouette. Between the pillars of ice stood a monster immense. The three dwarves had stopped now, their energy tense. It shifted just slightly. It came into view. Skin Sun was a great feathered, six-legged kangaroo. Feathers of indigo could be seen now quite clear. Head high in the air, its manner austere. Stukos quieted, thinking he needed a plan. If things went poorly, it could not be outran.
Now's the time, cried the ranger, before the beast sees us.
He fired a bolt, but the wound wasn't grievous. Stukos shifted slightly, very perplexed. The damn axe dwarf charged. She took her turn next.
We can kill it, come on, while we still have the odds,
called the ranger, who soon after went home to his gods. Stunned, Stukos watched on as the axe dwarf ran in. Damn fools, he thought. Like this we won't win. She fought fairly well, so Stukos held his tongue, until a swift kick tore open her lung. Stukos, still stunned, jogged up to help, but both disappeared down a slope, with a yelp. Running over he saw there a scene 'twas most grim. Crimson splotched snow, the Skin Sun now turned to him. Gritting teeth hard he ran back to a pillar, attempting escape from the 30-ton killer. Nails dug into ice, he began to climb, but the kangaroo titan came up from behind. The attack cut him deeply, through his cloak it had shorn. Ligaments and tendons alike were both torn. With the beast now below, Stukos reached the ice pinnacle, though the last couple feet were more than just finical. Poor Stukos was bruised, with his own blood was spattered. Skin Sun bested them, and now he was battered. Tired and gloomy, Stukos lay there for hours, in the circular hill, atop an ice tower. Quickly fading, old Stukos had to fight darkest sleep. He decided on one last plan. The plan was to leap. Peering over, 'twas clear the fall could be his end, but the choices were gone now. He couldn't pretend. Falling, he grazed the cold column of ice. It was far too late now to start thinking twice. Downward he plunged, downward to the ice floor. His hand took the impact and split into gore. Pain mattered little now. He was in an odd trance, but he came to his senses, and he saw his last chance. Stumbling, striving, forward he bumbled. The once powerful dwarf was now fully humbled. Collapsing, now Stukos wished for home and a brew, and to be far away from this hill and that rue. His body was cold, his hand badly mangled, but he was conflicted. Stukos' thoughts were entangled. He became rather angry. He would not be deterred. A rage burned inside this old bearded bastard. Once more hefting his spear, Stukos stood to his feet, and back to the hill that he trod through the sleet. The mound and the pillars once more came into view, and then there, amidst the columns, the feathers of blue. The Titan watched on, at Stukos proceed, the dwarf's sole ambition, to finish the deed. As the wind whistled, the Titan was still, as Stukos continued to make his great kill. Approaching, the rude beast did nothing at all. The dwarf was dwarfed further. 'Twas 60 feet tall. The world fell away from the dwarf. The hill was subdued. The Titan was all that Stukos viewed. Reaching it now, Stukos bristled and reared. Lunging forward he stabbed, the Titan was speared. You stabbed the Glacier Titan in the head from behind. The force bends the neck. The shot was well timed. At this, Skin Sun lashed out, with its right first foot, collapsing his head. Stukos was kaput. The circular hill was now silent once more, as it remains to this day, according to lore. And so, as you see, I spoke truth at the start. This wasn't a story. This is the last part. Nothing remains to be told here today. There isn't a moral. Now be off and away. Well, now listen. Before our adieu, I may have just thought of a moral for you. This little encounter, it wasn't a story. Such a paper-thin plot. For the hero no glory. Now bear with me here, this thought may sound cynical, but the reasoning's intact, in fact it's quite clinical. Now the moral you'll get is the moral I'm giving. The story of Stukos is a story of living. An ending is coming. It comes for us all. But stay here and listen. Please don't let it appall. An ending comes sure, but it isn't yet here. And so here's the point that I'll come to endear. The end isn't vital. It's quite unimportant. It's really not something our worries should warrant. What's important is the journey, your personal quest, and what really matters is that you do your best. We each have the power of good in this world, and so we should use it for our stories unfurled. Forget about big deeds. The little ones count. The tiniest good does the biggest amount. Do good to others, but to yourself too. Good for all people, a good quest to pursue. I leave you now, listeners. My story is done. Just remember to make sure that losing is fun.